So my name's David. I am 61 years old today, and I'm currently living in Oldham. Originally from Birmingham, but I now live in Oldham, just outside of Manchester. So I was obviously diagnosed originally in 2019 with breast cancer, and I knew that it could become secondary in the future, but I didn't really know a lot about secondary cancer at all, to be quite honest with you. I knew more about primary breast cancer, and I knew that men could get it, but I wasn't sure about. In fact, I think it was a bit naive, thinking I'll just bury my head in the sand and it won't get to that stage. But unfortunately, in 23, I was told that it had travelled to my lungs, and then looking for information on it as a man was very rare. There was not a lot of stuff out there, and I come across Make Seconds Count, and it all became a bit more real and a bit more understandable more than anything. No, I just became breathless. I live on a hill and I don't drive, so I walk everywhere. And I was walking home one day up the big hill and just realised it was getting harder and harder to do all the time, and I couldn't put my finger on why it was. And then one particular day I went to see the doctor, saying that I was just getting out of breath. By then it was just going up the stairs. And the doctor said, well, get an x-ray. And then from there, it was literally a whirlwind. It happened so quickly. 2 days later, a phone call. Can you come for a CT scan? Then can you go for a PET scan? So I think within a month, I'd had a biopsy on my lungs as well. And they basically said then it definitely was the cancer had spread to my lungs. So it was a whirlwind. Politely, when I was told that I'd got breast cancer in 2019 as a man, I felt extremely lonely. And then when I got told that I'd got stage 4 cancer as a man with breast cancer, I felt even more lonely. So because it was just totally alien to it. People that I talked to didn't understand at the beginning, and a lot of people just walked away or didn't want to talk. But now with secondary cancer, it's even harder to talk because people don't understand what it is. You can spend most of the conversation just explaining what things are without anyone really sort of saying, how are you? So it's a bit strange. But this type of platform gives me an opportunity to explain a little bit more as a man what it is and how it affects everybody, but equally as a male, how it affects me. Because I'm assuming it will be no different than the 56,000 ladies that get breast cancer and then the amount of ladies that get secondary breast cancer. We're all on a similar path. The first thing is the most important thing to tell men about breast cancer is that you can get it, for a start off. Most men automatically assume breasts, ladies. I once told somebody that I'd got breast cancer, and the man turned around and said, "You mean chest cancer?" I said, "No, not chest cancer. That's an amalgamation of many other cancers. Breast cancer is breast cancer. It's breast tissue. Men have it, not as much as ladies, but we still have it." So that's the first thing, is making men aware that you can get breast cancer and making them check just like their lady partners do. I always say, if your wife's checking every month in the shower, do the same thing. Check that, I always say, you check the best, now check the rest, or the chest, because it's important that men get in that habit of realising they're responsible for their health as well. So that was the first thing that I thought about it. But telling people about secondary breast cancer is more important because, one, everyone assumes you're going to die immediately, when in theory, I will die when everything doesn't work anymore. So I'm quite pragmatic about it. I know that once the medicine doesn't do its job anymore, unless there's other medications out there, and they change every year, and I'm hoping that every time something runs out, something else will come along, then I'll live a good life, yeah? I'm not saying it's a healthy life, because politely speaking, people say you look really well. That's external. Internal, I'm not feeling that great. But it's important to tell people, it's important to actually explain to people what secondary cancer is in a way that they understand, so that they know it's not always terminal in the sense of it's going to happen within a period. Unfortunately, there will be people that will be given that time frame. But it might be not curable, but it's treatable. And I try to encourage people to use that terminology, that way it gives you that hope that it will always be treatable. But it's difficult, and it's trying to actually, like I said, as a man in the beginning, it was very difficult to talk to other men about breast cancer. They didn't want to know, and they don't really want to know about secondary cancer. So this type of platform for me is the perfect way a man can actually express what is going on. I think the first thing that people should realise is when they come out with things like, well, you've beaten it before, you'll beat it again. Well, unfortunately, this time around, I won't beat it. Eventually, it will catch up with me. And equally, when people say, oh, you're a brave person, you're a warrior, all that terminology is just alien to me because I never chose to have cancer. I'm not in a war, I'm not in a battle. I am just experiencing an illness like other people have. And I hope that somewhere along the line I will either manage to continue coping with it the best way I possibly can, but I'll never get any better. And I think people should be understanding of that because people can jump to the conclusion immediately. You look well, you're all right. And equally, people will say, you look well, that's why I never spoke to you. Talk to me, just have a chat, because that's the worst part. Knowing people in the past who still to this day don't talk, it's sad. Straight away, find a way of expressing how you feel. And that might be go to a group meeting somewhere, might be finding something online. Whatever you do, try and find somebody to talk to, because it's not easy all the time talking. As a man, you'll find that the majority of your friends will run a mile. And that might be wrong to say that, but men aren't very good at talking about feelings, emotions, and they're not talking very well about health at the moment. So if you've got a good connection, a good contact of friends who do listen, keep them, yeah? Don't lose them. But equally, if you haven't, you need to find somewhere else to express all this, because it will catch up with you. If you don't talk about it, it will eventually destroy you. And that's the thing that people don't realise. Cancer, it isn't just a physical thing. It can be an amalgamation of everything. It can get into your head. And then, when I first got told about the secondary cancer, for a few months, it really did just eat away up here. And that was because it was trying to go from one diagnosis to the next, because it is a separate diagnosis in that sense. And it quite a bit of a leapfrog, really. And like the hospitals, the approach in hospitals, I found different. In the sense where at the beginning with breast cancer, it's treatment. You're seeing all these appointments all the time. People are always saying I'm on the end of a phone. But then when you get into secondary treatment, they start you off, and then as time goes on, your scans and your tests and your visits get less and less, and you feel a little bit on a limbo more, and you know that you have got it still. Whereas with the primary cancer, that gap, shall we say, you're thinking, oh, it means I'm getting better, I'm on the way to remission and all this. So this is a little bit different, but I think that for men, the most important thing is to find your tribe. And I think it's the right word to use as well, because people in this position will understand everything that you're trying to tell them. The person next door or over the road won't have a clue. And that's not in any detriment to them. When I first was diagnosed, I actually thought how rude and how ignorant my friends were for just disappearing, basically. And then over time, I realised that some people just don't know how to talk to you. Some people don't want to upset you. They don't want to come forward and say, in case it brings up. I think if I could get the message out to people, please talk to us, because you may think that you're going to upset us. You're upsetting us because you're not talking. So that is my first thing, cross that bridge. And at the end of the day, if you upset me, so what? You make me cry, you make me cry. It means that you care, yeah? Being here today and being involved with this photography session was the most important thing possible. And I don't want it to sound melodramatic in any way, but I've tried to explain that, like, as a man, it can be difficult to talk and explain how you feel. Doing this particular photo shoot there and showing all of yourself. Get it together. When I'm not here and I'm gone, that picture will always be on the internet. It'll always be out there. And it will always remind other men you can get breast cancer, you can get secondary breast cancer. So as much as I can talk and get people to be aware and check and things like that, sometimes just a story out in the ether, somebody else will read it one day and think, oh, blimey. And I'm hoping that's what it does. I want it to resonate further afield, like that dropping a stone in a pebble and just let it go wherever it goes. Because I know these things work. I know that by talking about things, you can make a difference. And that's my only hope. And I always thought then, selfishly, that although my closest circle, should we say, don't really openly talk about it, the wider circle would be there. I might never meet any of these people. That doesn't matter to me. That's not the point. I'm not doing it for recognition. I'm doing it to put it out there because I think eventually it'll do some good.